Freaky Friday. It's this guy, Sammy the Man McIntyre. We are back. Moving the Chains podcast. I hope we're doing well today. Some breaking news yesterday. Kyler Murray's of Minnesota Viking. Ugh. I want to dive into that eventually. And then I also want to touch on Daniel Jones. What contract was that? Oh, Jesus. Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof. So let's dive into that. So... God, the gift that keeps on giving for some of these quarterbacks, man. Woo! They're robbing people blind. So Daniel Jones, unlike my Colts fans out there, it was a good start to the season last year. I was down there week 5. Saw them whip our ass, 40-6. And I'm looking at the Colts going, whoa, pretty good. They look pretty good. Defense is balling. They got their offensive line. Jonathan Taylor, league MVP maybe. And then the wheels fell off. And Dan Jones got hurt towards Achilles. I think people kind of started figuring out what he was, what he wasn't. The old Danny Dimes, Danny Pennies came back to kind of revert ugly again from his Giant days. And then it kind of spiraled. They lost 7 straight games to end the year. You know, division was kind of competitive last year. Houston obviously won it. Was in the playoffs, so was Jacksonville. And then, Colts were kind of there, and then they weren't. And then Tennessee was a disaster. So the Colts are kind of in this weird spot. And listen, this stems from Andrew Luck. I'll go on this tangent every year. Andrew Luck really screwed the Colts more than I think the Colts screwed Andrew Luck, in my opinion. I think Andrew Luck was so much talent, but to me, here's my only thing with guys like this. I need to know how committed you are to it. Do you love it? Do you eat, sleep, breathe it? Because I do. Yeah, I do. And if I was in Andrew Luck's shoes, I would be too. But he wasn't wired like that. And that's okay. Some guys are just like football. Some guys love it. They eat, sleep, breathe it. Peyton Manning. Mamba mentality like Kobe. Like they Michael Jordan. And Andrew Luck just never did. Now, I'll give the Colts... Now, I'm not putting this all on Chris Ballard because he just got Andrew Luck near the end. But Ryan Grigson screwed him. And they never put an offensive line around him. Now, some of those sacks Andrew Luck could have avoided. But, Andrew just was a different cat. He was just kind of weird. He was out there, didn't love the game as much. Maybe if he didn't get in that ski accident, maybe that might have happened, dumbass. But it is what it is. And I think ever since then with the Colts, it's been musical chairs at quarterback. It's been Jacoby Brissett. It's been Nick Foles. It's been Sam Ehlinger. It's just been a disaster. And the Colts last year thought, we're getting close. We're there. And they got Sauce Gardner, gave him 2 first-round picks, and that blew up in their face. He had a calf tear, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. So now the Colts overspent for Sauce Gardner. Now they overspent for Daniel Jones again, like I just mentioned last year. So I think the Colts, and I mentioned this last year, I had a memory pop up of my video I posted about the Colts last year and the Vikings, and I'll touch on the Vikings in a second, is that the Colts kind of got an uphill battle now. The AFC, if we're being honest, was kind of down last year. No Lamar, no Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow was kind of mid, and Bengals had their own issues. So now looking at the AFC, it's going to be an uphill battle now. Colts, Houston's going to be kind of where they're at. If they can beef that offensive line up, they're going to be a lot better. We already know how great their defense is. Titans should be a heck of a lot better with Robert Saleh, Brian Daboll coming in. And Jacksonville's, Liam Cohen's a star. I like Liam Cohen a lot. So, Colts are kind of having an uphill battle. And, listen, like, Chris Ballard, he gets a pass a lot. And I like Chris Ballard, Wisconsin guy. He's really built this team up the right way, trenches, all that stuff. But he's been kind of screwed, and I don't blame the Colts for kind of doing these stopgaps at quarterback. I mean, Carson Wentz had 27 touchdowns, 7 picks, and the late Jim Irsay got rid of him, and they've been kind of mid ever since. So the Colts it's a cautionary tale. Protect your quarterback when you draft him. Get a good offensive line. You got to have the 3 Ps, guys. Protection, playmakers, play caller. Get those 3 in line, and the thing solved itself. Now, maybe the guy can't play. I don't know. And speaking of a guy who can't play, J.J. McCarthy era in Minnesota is probably over. And I heard Coward say this today. I talked about the Vikings last year, their outlook. It's kind of bleak right now. And they brought in Mental Midget, who, you guys know this as bad as anybody. I'm not a Kyler guy. I think he's, like Dan Patrick and a lot of other people think, he's got immense talent. But if the Vikings really think they're getting that version of Kyler, which was 1920 when he came in the league and kind of took it by storm, you're mistaken, because I got commitment issues. I have too much of the playing Call of Duty. He's been hurt. I got questions. He's got people fired because he's not really committed. He's kind of immature, kind of a dumbass. Shocker. So I just think I'm shorting the Vikings. And it's not because I don't think they have talent. I said this last year. Minnesota's got a really good defense coordinator, Brian Flores. Excellent. The offensive line, they beefed that up. It was a makeshift one last year. And here's the thing with Minnesota. They were 9-8 last year with, as I mentioned this the other night, with bad quarterback play. I mean, that Max Bresner guy, them playing Seattle, and I know Seattle caused problems for people. That was ugly. So Minnesota went 9-8 with bad quarterback play. Imagine if they get a good one. Now, here's the difference for me with Kyler going to Minnesota. When Sam Darnold got there, the resurgence thing, and I agree with this, I wouldn't necessarily say, well, Sam Darnold got reassured, man. Yeah, but Sam Darnold didn't go in with high expectations. Okay? Yes, there were expectations on Sam Darnold because he took over J.J. McCarthy, got hurt. But there wasn't any expectations on Sam Darnold. He rose above him, and he got them to 14 wins. And then Minnesota's where they are now, desperate. And that's what I felt like the Kyler Murray was too. So when I look at Minnesota, they fired their GM. I don't know if they're going to keep JJ because when you bring a new GM in, that was the old GM's pick. So does he want to keep him? Does he like him? You don't know. And, they freed up some cap space because they're so over the cap in terms of salary cap space with Minnesota. I think they had to let go of Aaron Jones, had to let go of, or maybe they restructured, I can't remember. Hargraves, I believe. So Minnesota's in a weird spot. I'm shorting them this year. And I like Kevin O'Connell. A little overrated for my take because he hasn't won a playoff game yet. A little bit too pass happy for me. Nothing wrong with that, but got to run the ball a little bit better. But I just look at Minnesota and, the JJ thing, I heard this today on Coward, and I was starting to get to this point, but I kind of got sidetracked, is when I watch the Vikings, and this is cautionary tale for any GM out there, there's two things I worry about. One, when he's a game manager in college at a big-time program, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, I got a question. And listen, you could put up numbers. Like Joe Burrow put up 60 touchdowns on a stacked LSU roster. Okay, but I saw the production. With JJ, it was, okay, I see the production. I don't see the production. He was just a game manager. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to manage the game as a quarterback. But sometimes you have to carry the team. J.J. McCarthy never had to. He never did. That Michigan team was loaded. 13 guys drafted. One of the best Michigan teams probably of all time. If you count the 97, team that, I guess, split the national championship. I don't know. That was with Brian Greasy and Charles Woodson. But that's where I struggle with J.J. McCarthy. And when he got drafted, that was my one thing. I'm like, I think it could work. Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Christian Darrisaw, really good left tackle. Like, there's pieces in place there. Defense is elite. But, then now they're fixing his mechanics. And I just feel like with Minnesota, it's sad. Because they had a really good thing 2 years ago. And then Sammy, he did shit the bed last two games. But majority of that season was playing outstanding. So now Minnesota, they're back in where they've been. And I think if you're the three other teams in that division, you look up Minnesota and go, glad it ain't us, man. Because I look at Minnesota, they're going to have an uphill battle. And I think with Kyler, you're asking him to save the franchise. That's not him. And I think Arizona was right to get rid of him. It was time. But I don't think some guys just aren't worth fixing to me. And I look at Kyler, he's just not fixable to me to work. Because he's got multiple people fired. I question the commitment. I just, he can't see as well because he's 5'10". He's like me. So I have a hard time buying into this. And Kevin O'Connell's got a lot of juice now because, GM and him, whatever. It's going to be fascinating with Minnesota because I think they're a really good team. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go 2-3 wins and be scrubs, but I'm not putting them down for 10, 11 wins like they did 2 years ago because that's not where I see it. So I just, cautionary tale for these GMs out there. And here's the other thing that drives me crazy with these NFL GMs. Can we stop with the whole, he's a winner? Yeah, Mike Ditka said that about Danny Warfel, if any of you old heads remember. Remember that? He's a winner. Yeah, Tim Tebow was a winner at Florida. Didn't really matter. Didn't matter. Troy Smith was a winner at Ohio State. Didn't matter. Ken Dorsey, winner at Miami, Florida. Remember that 0-1 team? Best college football roster of all time, probably. 38 players drafted. Didn't matter. So, A.J. McCarron, I'm going off my head here of guys that came from loaded rosters. Now, Joe Burrow, exception because he, played on a stacked LSU team. But I want production. If you're on a stacked team like that, I want you throwing 45, 50 touchdowns. And Joe Burrow did that. And, Fernando Mendoza, he's going to be a Raider. I'm excited. But he had to carry that Indiana team. It wasn't like he was playing with 5-star guys. He was playing with 3 stars. And he got his ass beat. And he basically carried Indiana in that national championship game. I'm sorry he did. Against an NFL-level team in Miami Hurricanes of Florida. So, I'm fascinated by the Vikings. I'm kind of going to be looking on eyes. I can't wait to see Mental Midget with him and Kevin O'Connell on the sideline, just kind of bickering. I think it's going to end poorly. I don't think it's going to work. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But, yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting season with the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Freaky Friday. Got more content coming out. Got some time on my hands. So, hope you guys are doing well. Freaky Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Adios. Godspeed.